Hey, this is Bill Beaudry from karmacalculator.com, and I want to show you what a sample reading is for just 1 year for one of my friends, my best friend actually, and show you how you get a reading. It's Chinese New Year's is coming up, so you can take a look at what your reading holds for the next couple years in the future. I always recommend 5 years. You're getting, if you went to a Vedic astrologer, it would cost you $225, $250 for just 1 year. With this, you can get 5, 10 years in the future. All my friends have them, and they print them out and flip through them and refer to them time and time again. One of my partners, John, he just swears by the accuracy of this thing. All right, everybody looks forward to the good periods, and when their bad period is coming up, you basically look at it and say, well, this is what it's telling me, so accept it and take the words of advice as to how to accept the situation and change it, and that's what you want. But this is my best friend, and this was her fortune for last year, because next year is moving up, and I want to show you how it matched for last year. And basically it said, you fall into a trap, which means something's unavoidable. 3 guests arrive, show respect to them, and you'll have good fortune. And last year she had so many guests, it was ridiculous. All the time she was telling me guest after guest after guest. And special respect to the guests and escape danger. It just basically means escape danger. It just means that treat them well, okay? There's no way she could avoid it. And she ended up being in charge of, I don't know how many during the year, about a half dozen sort of conferences or mass groups of people, more than that, who came, and she ended up having to teach them. She's Chinese, and they all wanted to know about Chinese culture. And there you go. Most of them were Confucian scholars. They weren't Confucian scholars, but they're just regular people that wanted to know about culture. Of course, this actually, if this was a Westerner, it doesn't mean that it the words. Remember, this thing is written for 1,000 years ago in Chinese culture, so you have to translate that into whatever culture you have today. It just means Confucian scholars means upright, outstanding individuals who are watching their mind. Okay, or for some people it might be government people or what have you, but the big thing that comes across for the reading is visitors. All right, and basically she also studies hard for fame and merit. This past year, she started cracking the books for the first time in her life. She never liked reading before, and she told me for some reason she likes that. In his old age, he lives in caves, maintains close relations with virtuous people. Now, when it says in his old age, it just means for the year, at the later part of the year. Lives in caves means you stay in one particular place, you don't leave it, and you maintain close relationships with people and accept everything that comes away. So she just learned that whole year to accept these people. She didn't leave the house a lot, and she basically just had to deal with them in her situation. Comfortable situation. With her use of life, very modest, had good relationship with officials. So basically that was it the whole year. You always look at this particular line, and for that particular year it says, there you go, studying again. So there's, studying twice. And this is a big change for her because she doesn't like to read. So basically she ended up studying this year. And the whole must be prudent, chronic worry. No big worries. This is just general, and if it's ominous, it says a light punishment will be prison and a heavy one burial in the grave. But of course, nothing happened that particular year for her or whatever. Now, there are some people that if they have a bad, astrological fortune, such as you can find with Vedic fortune telling or Western, and you have bad transits, then there might be prison. But just because you get this, it doesn't mean there's prison. All right. What else does it say? It just basically says on these, guests will arrive. Pay them respect, take care of them. You're going to be distributing benefits to the people. And this is a really good summary of her entire year. If she had to summarize the year, and that's how this works, she would say, this whole year, everything went well, but the big funny thing is I ended up studying a lot, and my God, did I have a lot of guests. And the Karma Calculator Fortune warned you about that. The previous year for her was the fact that she had to take care of cooking. And she's not a big cook, and she ended up taking care of, in charge of chefs at a very large complex. She had to watch their food and hire the chefs and take care of the diet or whatever. And she's like, why me? She kept rebelling against it, and I kept saying, it's in your fortune. And that was the big thing for the year. So this is how you use the fortune. It will tell you sometimes amazing things. This one is not really an amazing forecast for the year. It just actually just summarized pretty well what happened for the past year. And you know, that's it. What you do is you read this, and then the yellow section, and then you read this section, and this section you concentrate on these three, okay? Which basically, the first one is all right. Use. So she had to deal with people a lot, and maybe she had to order the people around or make sure that they were in a good shape. And if you're dealing with a lot of people, she it's basically dealing with a lot of people, giving them ordering around, arranging things for them. Isolated, he sees a pig covered with blah blah blah. This basically means you see a situation and you think it's going to be terrible, but it ends up that it's the opposite of what you thought it would be. She's always been scared of guests and handling people. It's like seeing, you see in the distance something that looks like a snake, you get up close and you find out that it's a stick. Well, it looks like, oh my God, I don't know how to handle this. What in the world do I do? And then you know what? You look and you find, oh, it wasn't that bad. And that's what this thing was. And that was, this describes the situation for her. And, this one just said, this particular one said, if somebody gave you, maybe somebody that year gave her some belts or whatever, but by morning it would be stripped away. It's just like, this just means, you might get some rewards or gifts this year, but it's nothing big. Don't let anything go to your head. Now, when you get to a Karma Calculator Fortune, always use this section for particular events in the year. And then after you go through the yellow section, you go up and you look at the top section, okay? And this is the top section. And the top section for her just basically says, a monk comes to lead them, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, she had a lot of visitors that were monks this year. A lot of wealthy men. She got money this year. There was no problems with salary this year. Moon in the sky, nothing blocks its brightness. That means just good fortune in general, as well as with cultivation. Cultivation is also symbolized by dragon, dragon gate, dragon tail. So she made a progress in her whole life, saying that she transformed by learning how to handle guests. And that's what a dragon always symbolizes. It can symbolize yang qi in the body or transformation, or a dragon can symbolize a good fortune or a political position. These are all symbols from ancient symbols from Chinese culture. You learn to read them because this is Chinese fortune method, and that's it. Okay, and I just wanted to show you how this matched her fortune. This is not what I would call an extremely accurate match, even though it talked about the temperament of the year. And the reason I don't call it extremely accurate is because I like the ones that say you're going to move this year, or you're going to get married this year, or what have you. And those actually come out too. But you don't usually get big events like that every year. So you go through the past years that you get to see how to read it, and then you go for the future years. Which basically sometimes have that, sometimes not. And if you find a year repeating in your Karma Calculator Fortune, that just means the 2 years sort of look like each other in some way, especially in terms of the environment or the atmosphere that you're going to go through that year. And you look at these things for not just events, but how do I change myself? Because you're just consciousness. You're always going to be consciousness. You want to know how to change your consciousness so you can get rid of old habits and learn to become, create new habits for the future and get better. That's what it's all about. That's what life's all about. So I just wanted you to see this. This is another example, and that's it.